everybody, and welcome back to Hoffman Reproductions. This is part 2 of our Springfield 1842 smoothbore musket series. On today's video, we are going to be firing live rounds through this musket, putting it through its paces. And we'll be firing the several types of original ammunition that would have been fired through this gun. We're going to be firing solid shot, 65 caliber or .650, which is what this gun originally fired as far as a round ball goes. So some of those, we're going to be firing a load of buck and ball, various cartridges, and we're going to be trying out some cartridges that are just buckshot. I've tried to replicate the rounds as closely as possible as far as the paper, powder charge, and the bindings go. So as I said, I had to have a mold custom made for this musket because originally it fired the .650 round ball. Those are hard to find if you looked around, so I had a mold custom made, so we're good there. Original powder charges were 100 grains for a solid projectile, and then 110 grains if firing buck and ball. So that's the load that I have here, so I'm anticipating a rather hefty recoil, and then 100 grains on the buckshot load. And these cartridges are lubricated around the section where the bullet is on the outside of the paper with beef tallow and beeswax to match the original. So I have some silhouette targets set up here downrange. So we're going to get spun around, loaded up, and fire different types of cartridges at different distances and see how the 1842 does. Okay, so for our first shot, we're just going to fire a solid round ball at some silhouette targets I have out here. 50 yards. I've never fired this musket before, so I'm curious to see which direction it goes. So get started with the loading process. Paper cartridge as described earlier. It's a pretty good fit. I'll cap up when we're ready to fire. Alright, we'll reload for shot number 2. Okay, so I ran down there and looked, and at 50 yards we put that one right in the center silhouette's gut. So that's a kill shot. We'll go for shot number 2. Okay, so that shot, I aimed at the center target where would be the heart and put the ball right through the center. So at 50 yards, this smoothbore musket shoots dead on with that load, so happy for that. We're going to try a load of buck and ball now. See what kind of spread we get at 50 yards. And this is thumping me pretty good, and we're going to bump it up by 10 more grains and shoot 110 with these. Alright, the load that made this gun famous, buck and ball, 50 yards. Definitely thumps. Okay, so I am not inclined to shoot a whole lot more of those buck and ball cartridges at 110 grains. That thumps pretty hard. I'm a big boy, but I wouldn't want to have to do that all day. We'll go down and look at the target here in a minute, but with that load at 50 yards, 2 of the Buckshot stayed on the one individual. The third one, I'm not sure where it went, but styrofoam backing that I have, it's a little hard to tell, but definitely 2 out of the 3 pieces of the 31 caliber buckshot hit, so it would be an effective round. We're going to load up with a round of straight buckshot, 100 grains, 12 buckshot. This was a popular round with Confederates that carried shotguns, but occasionally troops would use this if the fighting was any close, and I want to see what happens at this distance, because this 50-yard distance with the 1842 69 cal, the 12th New Jersey at Gettysburg, repulsing their section of Pickett's charge, they had cartridges made up that were this load, just buckshot, and it said at 50 yards they wreaked havoc on the Confederates. So I'm curious to see what happens. We'll get loaded up and try it. Alright, load of dozen buckshot on 100 grains of 2F powder. Okay, so the blue tape represents the first several shots that I fired. This is the main ball hit here. This is the second shot. Once I figure out where to aim, I think I could keep it on that all day long. So, you know, that's the size of my fist. Pretty good. This is a solid shot from the buck and ball, and then this is the first one. The buck and ball load we did, the first shot, one hit him here, another one hit him in the head, and I can't find that last one, but interesting to note, that last shot we fired of straight buckshot at 50 yards, every single one of these silhouette targets was hit by several pieces of that buckshot. So I can't imagine firing that load at packed troops. It would have been devastating. This first guy here on the right, he has a shot in the groin, piece of the buckshot, and a shot in both right legs, or his right leg, 2 pieces of buckshot there. Our middle guy caught 4 pieces of buckshot right in the chest. And then the guy over here on the left, he caught a piece of buckshot in the gut, one in the right leg, and then one is just barely off of his head, which I think would have hit his shoulder if it was a real target. So yeah, buckshot at 50 yards, smoothbore musket, devastating effect. We hit 3 people, and can you imagine if these troops were stacked, all those would have gained hits. The only one that didn't gain hit was the 12th piece out of that load of 12. I'm not sure where it went. I might even missed it on here, but yeah, 50 yards, very lethal. It'd probably open up at distance, I'm sure, but 50 yards, man, very effective. Okay, we're going to move the target back and see how we do at a farther distance. Alright, so we're going to load up for our 100-yard target. And one more of our solid shot 100 grain charges. Okay, so even though I really don't want to because the recoil is extreme, I'm going to fire one more load of our buck and ball cartridge, 100 yards, 110 grains. Okay, so at 100 yards, we have a hit right here. Would have been in this guy's arm or his buddy. We have one right here, right in the chest, and then one again, it would have been in arm or shoulder. And even at distance, 100 yards, that load of buck and ball, it actually stayed together. Piece right there hit just off target. That might have hit somebody in the rear rank. And then it's down on the ground, but right there, that might have caught somebody's foot. So amazingly enough, even at 100 yards, yeah, it'd be worth firing the buckshot with a buck and ball load for sure. So pretty good shooting at 100 yards. I'm happy with that. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in, and once again we have demonstrated, as others have, smoothbores are not the hopelessly inaccurate inferior arm from the 18th and 19th centuries. The 1842 smoothbore, even at distance, 100 yards, proves to be very effective and lethal. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe. That helps us out a lot, and we'll see you all again next time.